Have you forgiven your two birth parents?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever have like hate for the country, like Korea?
No, I actually didn't have any hate for the country at all.
You found in like your family. How was that experience for you?
I was emotionally still because it's a lot to take in.
Can you run us through the moment where your biological father left you on the streets?
I do remember a few instances. Number one, I was at a night market, I believe. And another memory I have is when I got dropped off into the orphanage.
Can you run us through the year you were adopted?
So I was adopted, I believe my age was around 4. Hello, my name is Eric McDaniel. I'm a Korean American adoptee. I was born in Incheon, South Korea. Unfortunately, I was abandoned in the streets of Incheon. I was a street kid for a while. I was an orphan boy, and then I was adopted into a loving family in Kansas City, Missouri.
At what age were you adopted?
I was adopted, I think, around the age of 4 or 5. I went through my birth records when I came over here to find everything, and I found out my birthday was different. So I was actually born February 28th, not April 4th, my whole entire life. So when I asked my Korean family, my aunts, my uncles, they remember somewhat of the year, but they definitely remember my February 28th. One of the reasons why is because if you're the first one born, they have all your birth records. But if you're not, especially in the 80s and especially in the 70s, they didn't register you. So I wasn't registered at all. So I was like, just ghost. From what I believe, my adoption agency just made up my birthday.
Do you remember your early life in Korea?
Absolutely, I do. And one of the reasons why I came back to Korea was definitely to find all those memories that I had growing up as a kid, because I remember it just vivid moments in my life, and I thought they were dreams at the time, especially growing up. So just like any kind of memory you have growing up, especially as a child, you don't really remember the 99 great things that happen with your family, right? You times that plus trauma, plus being on the streets, plus actually having hunger. I was literally fighting for scraps at night markets, sleeping near toilets and hallways. So I remember very vivid moments. So that's why I came back to Korea to find all my memories to see if they were true.
Can you run us through the moments where your biological father left you, like on the streets?
I do remember a few instances. Number one, I was at a night market, I believe somewhere in Incheon, and my dad just set me down and we were just eating, and it was quite cold that day. And he goes, oh, you know what, son, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, just relax, have some food. I was like, okay, sounds great. Typical meal. I'm getting food. Amazing. Finally. Later on, he just didn't come back. So I just remember like going up and down the night market, and he was nowhere to be found. I'm just crying everywhere. Nobody's helping me. Then I just remember I was kind of cold. It was like nighttime then, and all the stalls are leaving. All the night market people are leaving. And then the bus pulls up, and the bus driver just opens his door. He goes, where do you need to go? I was so cold. I just run into the bus and just ran into his arms, and he just takes me to the police station. Then another memory I have is when I got dropped off into the orphanage is when I sat on a couch, and he was talking to this lady forever, what it seems. He goes, Eric, just go to sleep. So I went to sleep. I woke up, and the lady at the front desk was, this is your home now. I couldn't really understand at the very beginning, but then I understood because he did it several times. He left me several times. I was on the street for weeks, maybe months. I just remember, especially talking to my cousins, that I was in and out of orphanages and on the street for almost a year.
I'm pretty sure that must have left a huge scar on you.
Absolutely. Growing up, especially, being a little street kid, you can't really relate to normal people. But the blessing that I had was when I finally got adopted. So when I got adopted and I went over to Kansas City, Missouri, I had a loving family. And one of the things that really opened up my eyes was actually a photo album that I looked at. It was like my mom and dad smiling. It was a cat, a house pet, an actual bed that my brother was sleeping on. Well, he's another Korean adoptee. So when I looked at that, I just slept right away in my new mom's arms because I knew what I had. I had a second chance. I had a family. And luckily, I had the spectrum of pure abandonment and hunger to an actual family. I didn't let that go.
Can you run us through the year you were adopted and also meeting your new family?
So I was adopted, I believe my age was around 4. I went to America, and then after about a year or so, I was mute. So I was so scared that I wouldn't even speak a word. After a while, then I spoke English. I was speaking Korean my whole entire life, like simple sentences, simple complex sentences, compound sentences, but then I just all of a sudden spoke English. Then I guess my first couple of words was like, I love you, Dad, I love you, Mom. So I guess it was very heartwarming, and which is true, which is facts. But the experience growing up in America was a different kind of beast. Because growing up, I knew I was different. I couldn't talk to anybody about it, didn't want to share anything about it. But also, racism is also an issue. Prejudice is also an issue. So, I had that growing up as well.
You said your first English word was, I love you, Mom, I love you, Dad. Yeah. How did you learn English?
I never went to school for it. So basically, I was just assimilated. Luckily, I had my older brother, who's Korean American adoptee. adoptee as well. So my parents had 2 Korean kids in Kansas City, Missouri. So it's kind of hard not to assimilate and learn English. So we went to, kindergarten, we went to preschool, we did a lot of activities. Luckily, because of that, I was able to, I believe, feel comfortable. So I think after about 6 or 7 months, I wasn't mute anymore. I just spoke English, like perfect English. That's what my mom said.
Can you remember the time where you landed like into a new country? Like, did you know it was America? Did you even know like where you were at?
I remember that so well because when I was at the orphanage, I remember a guy in a top hat, glasses, big old trench coat, like literally Inspector Gadget. And he comes in, from what I remember, he goes, "You want to leave?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." Right? So I was happy to leave the orphanage. Then I went on the airplane. And of course, as a kid, oh my gosh, your ear pops and everything. So I was just crying the whole entire time, supposedly. That's what my lawyer said. So that guy was my American family lawyer. So the adoption lawyer. So he got me. And then when I got off the plane, everybody just looked so alien to me, right? I mean, you go from like Korea in 1980s to America, 1990s. Let's just say everything was a lighter colored. But one of the memories I do have very well is when I see my brother looking down. I mean, he's a year older than me, and he tries to give me candy, and I see what he has in his hand is Pez. He gives me Pez, and I look at it. I was like, "Oh, I remember that character. It's a Disney character." But then like shock value came right back to me, and I accidentally kicked him in his face instead of kicking the Pez out of his hands. Then he goes, "Take him back, take him back." I have that on video, actually, on VHS, and it's pretty funny.
Growing up as a kid in America, how was that experience for you? Like in the early 90s, I could imagine, like being an Asian.
I grew up in a very American household. Yeah, they both were Caucasian American, and I couldn't ask for a better family. So like I said, it was a very good, supportive, nuclear family. My dad, a traditional, old, gritty country dad, just worked a lot, didn't really show emotion. Almost very similar to a Korean dad. I just worked a lot, never really said "I love you." My mom was the most nurturing type of mom. She always stayed at home, made sure we were well loved and had food. I fell in love with spaghetti. I was like, "Oh my God, I could eat this every day." I would have to say I just had a typical normal suburban life, especially in Kansas City. There's only a few of me in Kansas City. Didn't really know my roots, because as you assimilate, you just talk to your friends and you want to like fit in with your friends. For me, I'm just Eric at the time. I did know I was different because other people tell me I was different. For example, in elementary school, they would call me chink, racial slurs. I mean, your typical, they throw a spoon on the floor. "Yeah, your name is Ching Chong Ding Dong." Yeah, they would do that. You know who you are. Growing up through that kind of racism and stuff, I believe in the 90s, any Asian American probably went through my experience.
Are you a Korean citizen or an American citizen?
I'm an American citizen right now. Fortunately, as a Korean adoptee, I'm able to apply for dual citizenship. That's one of the perks of being a Korean adoptee.
What made you decide, okay, you know what, I want to come back to Korea?
What made me want to come back to Korea is because I remember, the trauma my whole entire life. So I never really shared it with anyone. You can ask any of my friends, you can ask my mom, my parents, my brother. I didn't share it with anybody. After I finished university, I was working in finance in downtown Kansas City, and I realized, I was like, this isn't for me. It's 2008, stock market was dipping. I was ready to get out. So at that time, I came back to Korea. I really wanted to find my roots in my family, so I got my adoption papers, and I contacted my adoption agency here in Korea, and that's where the whole process just opened the floodgates. So I signed my affidavits, I signed all my paperwork, and finally, they sent me all my adoption papers. They had on record. So my dad, my mom, the age of my dad, the age of my mom. My dad was 46. My mom was 20 when they had me. It was quite the age gap. So that's why I came back. I needed to find those Polaroid picture moments I had vividly as a kid. And they weren't good ones, like as I said before. So as a young adult, I came back to Korea and I found them. I found my dad and I found my mother.
Run us through that experience, like meeting your birth parents. Like, I'm pretty sure we were filled like with a lot of emotions. But before we get to that, did you ever have like hate for the country, like Korea, like as a general?
No, I actually didn't have any hate for the country at all. So I think that's just part about me just growing up and assimilating. I was done at an early age having hate in my heart. Like I said, I saw the spectrum of evil. My unfortunate experience became a fortunate experience for me mentally, because I was able to drop back and realize, oh my God, that was pure evil. Being on the street, being hungry, not having a family, being abandoned, being abused. And I realized that it was a person that did it to me. It wasn't the country.
You came back to Korea, you found like your family. How was that experience for you?
Finding my my family was definitely an accomplishment for me because I knew I could get probably most of the answers that I had or the questions that I had growing up as a child. But I also knew, I'm a young adult now. My analyzing skills on who's lying and who's not lying is pretty good. So my dad would give very broad answers. Oh, Eric, yeah, you were adopted. Oh, I couldn't take care of you. Oh, your mom wasn't present. I was working all the time. You would just leave all the time when we were fighting. So I smelled bullshit. That is a bullshit ass answer. My mom was very descriptive, very heartbroken. So the whole experience was absolutely emotional. But at the beginning, it was I would have to say I was emotionally still because it's a lot to take in.
Have you forgiven your two birth parents?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely forgave them. I think forgiveness is something that helps you heal, absolutely. The reason why I forgive them is because even though I was such a little kid, they had no effect on me growing up my whole entire life. I forgave my dad and I forgave my mom. I actually have an older brother and an older sister as well. So they were fortunately adopted to France, but they were abandoned before me. So it was very hard to forgive him. But I wanted to show him what I learned throughout my whole entire life was love. And if I show him hate, then he wins. If I showed him the love and the unconditional forgiveness that my adopted parents showed me, I win. And the love through my parents back home, my family wins.
You went through all this experience, you became very successful. You did TED Talks, you started companies. How were you able to go through this whole process?
So yeah, I first came over to Seoul, South Korea to find my Korean parents. And I quit my finance job and supposedly everybody in America would be like, oh my God, you have a finance job, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a finance bro. So I quit that in 2008 and I came over to Korea. And the only way to come over here was to teach English. So I taught English for a big conglomerate company. And that was a way for me to really live and experience comfortably what can I do in Korea. In 2008 at the time, there was a huge market shift because Korea was growing as a nation culturally and also the entertainment value. Back in the day when I came, there was not really clubs in Korea, Western clubs. There was night-to. And the whole night-to is when you go to a bar and you have a waiter bring you to a couch or a table and they just pull in girls to your table. That was the club entertainment. That and karaoke noraebang, right? And I was like, you know what? I look into my own problem. I can't meet Korean people. I can't speak Korean. Oh, but there must be Korean Americans. Oh, there must be yuhaksings. So I got to meet all of them. So basically I contacted all the student council and I started my own networking parties and it just blew up. So then we just scaled it. So I turned myself into an event company. Later on, I quit teaching English and I scaled my event company. So I partnered into 3 clubs in Itaewon. We were the biggest at the time and the most renowned. Lasted over 10 years, pre-COVID, all gone. So that's how I got into the event space and that's how I got into entrepreneurship.
What do you do now?
Right now, I'm segued. So basically, I'm back into the event space and right now I'm starting my own media company. I'm launching my own podcast next month and I do marketing activations for companies in Korea.
Run me through how you got on TED Talk.
So yeah, I recently did a TED Talk a few years ago and I was just referred by a friend, actually a friend through a friend, randomly. It was random. It was during COVID time as well too. So basically I get a phone call and he goes, Eric, would you be interested in doing a TED Talk? I'm like, yo, absolutely. Send me the director's information. Let's go. So he called and he goes, Eric, we're looking for actually another candidate. I believe 60 people were applying all over Asia at the time. And these guys are PhDs or professionals into their industry. And I'm just a young entrepreneur. The process is pretty extensive. You go through a preliminary process, the interview process, then you have to build your outline, then your content and concepts. Out of 60 to 80 people that were applying, I was one of the 5 that made it.
Was it hard adapting to the Korean culture?
Definitely was hard for me for the language aspect, but for the cultural aspect, not so much. I already knew to leave my ethnocentric values back in the States.
Are you still in contact with your adopted parents?
Absolutely. Yeah, they are my parents. I love my mom to death. We always, are on Facebook chatting all the time, always updating each other and stuff. So my brother back home, he has 3 beautiful children, so it keeps her happy, keeps her active. So yeah.
Wait, you still use Facebook?
We still use Facebook. That tells you how old I am.
Are you still in contact with your birth parents?
I can't find my mom now. She kind of disappears at times. I try to call her. Then my Korean dad, we do not talk anymore. Even though I forgive him, but it's just had time to let him go. You'll know more of the story, of course, when my book comes out soon.
What would you like to tell your younger self?
Failure doesn't define you, it refines you. Every failure that you're gonna go through in life is gonna build your character. If I could tell my younger self, definitely focus on that.